Alright, so I just saw Across the Spider-Verse the other day on like Saturday or whatever. It's like Monday Tuesday I'm making this. And I ain't gonna lie. If that's not the best, it's the second best Spider-Man movie ever made. It's the second best or best Spider-Man movie ever made. That's the only places you could put it, because that movie was a 10 out of 10, no doubt. 10 out of 10, no doubt movie. But after watching the movie, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, damn, what comic did they base this movie off of? Because if you don't know, all the Marvel movies, all the DC movies, whatever, all the superhero movies is usually loosely based off of some type of comic, right? And I remember after I saw like No Way Home, I was real interested. I was watching all the breakdown videos and whatever, and like, oh, it's based off of this comic, it's based off of this comic, whatever. But when I went to look that up for Across the Spider-Verse, I didn't see anything. Now, at first I was thinking, oh, this could because it's a very unique storyline, and it probably, maybe there was just unique and only the character inspiration was taken off the comics. But after thinking about it, I thought about it for a little bit, like, you know, before I went to sleep. I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about it, because I've read most of the Miles comics, not all of them, I haven't read all of them, but I've read most of them. I was thinking about like, damn, there's gotta be something. So I went on the app, the Marvel Unlimited app, $5 a month for all the comics. So I went on the app, I started scrolling through it, the app, I was like, damn, which one of these stories is kind of similar? And then it hit me, bro. I ain't gonna lie, it hit me. And it was like the most random storyline. I'm about to talk about it, but I just want to give a little spoiler warning. I'm basically gonna primarily be talking about the end of this movie, okay? Because the end of the movie is what relates to this story, this saga the most. So you have been warned, you feel me? But
I heard your grandma got cancer, I feel bad for her. But no cap, before she die, I'ma scam her first.
Alright, so if you're still here, you probably have seen the movie already, so you better know what I'm about to talk about. But the comic that this movie is loosely based off of is from the Ultimatum saga in the Miles Morales comics. I don't remember exactly what the actual Miles Morales comic set is. I'll put it on the screen or whatever. I think it's just a regular one, but it's the Ultimatum saga, okay? It was spanned across probably 7 to 10 comic books. It was a cool storyline, but not too like relevant. Like, I don't really hear people talking about it that much. Maybe it's a little popular, I don't really know, but so that's why I was kind of surprised when I was like, damn. I went back, I reread it, and I was like, damn, this is kind of like, these endings are kind of similar, like the last 2 comics for that saga and the ending of the Miles Beyond the Spider-Verse movie. A quick little note, throughout this video I said Beyond the Spider-Verse when I was really obviously talking about Across the Spider-Verse, so I just gotta let y'all know. It was very similar, and I'm about to break down exactly why that is. Okay, so first, quickly, I'm gonna give a quick rundown on the Ultimatum saga. The Ultimatum saga, in case you have not read it, I'm assuming you probably haven't read it, or maybe you have. Whatever it is, I'm still gonna give a quick breakdown. So, basically what happened in that saga, I'll just give you the importance. You know, Miles obviously fighting a lot, villains and, but this dude, Ultimatum, right? He live in Brooklyn. Miles is living in Brooklyn in this set of comics, not Harlem like the game or whatever. So he's living in Brooklyn. And this dude, Ultimatum, he on some typical Spider-Man villain shit, he wants to take over Brooklyn. He wants to take over the Brooklyn Underground. He wants to, run all the crime and all of that. But his plan is to actually kill all of the other criminals, you know what I'm saying? From your average jewelry robber to fucking Vulture, bro. He wanted to smoke all of them. They don't care if he was robbing a hot dog stand. He wanted to kill him, right? Just to make sure he had the rundown on the crime game. That's basically the rundown, and obviously Miles is gonna try and stop him. And these two dudes have been beefing. I'm not gonna lie, they were beefing. Like, Ultimatum even kidnapped him for a little bit and tortured him. All of that. They was really beefing. But towards the end is when it started really to relate. So I'm gonna break down each part and how it relates. So firstly, something you need to know that happened is, obviously the Prowler is still alive in these comics, and I'm about to make a comparison where the Prowler in the Ultimatum saga is very similar to Gwen in the movies. Hear me out, like, so originally the Prowler is hired as because he's a criminal, but he was hired by Ultimatum to go do some of his dirty work, just take care of some things, take care of some of the other villains, and Ultimatum was gonna dust him off at the end. But, Prowler didn't know that, right? So Prowler is hired by Ultimatum. Kind of like Gwen is working for Miguel, right? Gwen is working for Miguel, even though Miguel and Miles turn out to be, not the best of friends. They definitely don't like each other at all. So there's the first little similarity. And then also early in the story, what you need to know is the Ultimatum, as I was saying, actually kidnapped Miles, kind of like Miguel and all the Spider people kind of kidnapped Miles. They put him in that cage, and the British Spider-Man, Spider-Punk, he was like, use your palms, mate. And Miles was able to escape, just like Miles was able to escape, and Miles was able to escape in the comics and the movie, right? So boom, he escapes, and now on both of them, he's on the run, right? So in the comics, the Ultimatum Saga, what they do is I'm trying to describe it. Basically, Ultimatum sent out this gas to all like regular civilians, kind of like if you play the Spider-Man game, kind of like, damn, my face kind of looking good. Kind of like how in the Spider-Man game, the demon medicine liquid was sent out to all the civilians, right? Very similar, made the civilians go crazy, made them want to fight and all that. That's what this goblin juice did, except it made everybody into a big-ass green goblin. So boom, the Green Goblins is all chasing Miles. Miles is actually with the Prowler at this time. Obviously, Miles wasn't with Gwen at this time, but just hear me out, all right? So Miles is on the run. Just like he's on the run in the comics from the Green Goblin people, and there's loads of them. I'm talking like hundreds of these people. And he's on the run versus hundreds of Spider-Man. So on both of them, he's super outnumbered, right? And he's on the run. So in the comics, he gets caught again by Ultimatum and gets kidnapped again, which then brings me in to how it really relates, how these endings are really similar, right? Because Miles doesn't get caught again, but he does get caught once he lands in the Earth that is not his, Earth 42, which he's not from. So let me explain how these two endings are identical. So basically, to give you all the parallel, right now in the story of both stories, Miles is caught by Ultimatum, held captive in a chair and shit, and Miles is caught by the Prowler and Uncle Aaron, because Uncle Aaron's technically not the Prowler in this universe, so he's caught by the Prowler and Uncle Aaron. So both in these stories, Miles is captured, right, and held captive, right. So what we find out in the Ultimatum storyline is that Miles, the Miles we've been following, the Spider-Man Miles, in the Ultimatum storyline, it's actually not from the Earth that he's in at the moment. He's not from that Earth. Just like in Beyond, Miles is not from the Earth that he's in at the moment. So now we all thinking like, what do you mean Miles is not in that Earth? Ultimatum takes his mask off, like he takes his mask off, and he's Miles Morales from that Earth. You feel what I'm saying right now? Just like how in Beyond, the Prowler took his mask off, and he's Miles Morales from that Earth. So let me break it down for y'all dumb motherfuckers out there, bro. Basically, Miles is captured both, right? In both of the stories, he's captured, right? Both of the stories, he's not on his Earth. He's on a completely different Earth that he's not from. And in both of the stories, the dude who captured him, the villain, is Miles Morales from that Earth. Y'all feel what I'm saying right now? Like y'all seeing the parallel right now? It's very, very similar. Okay? And that's basically where I'm at right now. That's what I realized. I realized that this ending to the saga and to the part 1, Beyond, are very similar. Both Miles find themselves in the same situation where they're captured not on their Earth, by themselves, by a different version of themselves, which was supposed to be something else. Like Ultimatum wasn't really supposed to be Ultimatum. We don't know how he turned into Ultimatum, but he did. The Prowler, we know Prowler was supposed to be Spider-Man because the earlier scenes, but he turned into the Prowler. So when I was reading this, I started thinking like, damn, these is really similar. Obviously, they're not the same characters, but if you just character swapped a little bit, it would be the same type of story. It is the same type of story, this ending, okay? And that's where Beyond ended off. Like, it ended off with him being captured by himself and Uncle Aaron. But this is not where the Ultimatum saga ended off. So what I'm gonna do now is give a quick breakdown of the ending to give my predictions of how part 2 will go. So now I'm about to explain how the Ultimatum saga ended up ending, actually, and how I think it's going to be very similar to how Spider-Man Part 2, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to go. So as I was mentioning earlier, where I did the Prowler-Gwen comparison, the reason I compared them is because Prowler started off working for Ultimatum, right? He actually had a fight with Miles, actually, in this saga, right? And Gwen started off working or whatever, teaming with Miguel, right? And Gwen and Miles don't really fight, but they do have their disagreement and whatever. So what ends up happening actually is Prowler ends up, switching up on Ultimatum and, rocking with Miles and ends up fighting on Miles' side. Kinda like at the end of the movie, we see how Gwen ends up ditching Miguel, kind of saying, fuck you, Miguel, and ends up building her own whole Spider-Man team, band, whatever they called it in the movie, to go help Miles. And now they gonna have a big fight with all the other Spider-Men. So it's kind of similar in that sense. That's why I'm relating Prowler and Gwen, and I'm gonna get into why I'm relating them, why I'm comparing them even more right now. So in the end of the Ultimatum, the last comic, there's this big fight, right? Even Captain America's there, everybody there. Everybody who anybody is there, right? Brooklyn is popping, is off. Ultimatum turns like huge and whatever, and he just starts fighting these dudes. It was a pretty good comic series, I'm not gonna lie. Good final battle. But what happens is Ultimatum is kind of building this machine, right, to help take over the city and help and like kill the other Miles and whatever. It's kind of irrelevant, but it's relevant to that story, but it's not really relevant to the comparison. But basically, they need to shut this machine down, right? They need to shut the machine down to stop Ultimatum and all of that. So what Prowler ends up doing is actually risking his life. He actually ends up killing himself to shut down the machine. He runs in the machine and he like blows himself up on some crazy shit, right? We don't actually see a confirmed death, but it's speculated widely that he is dead because he ran in the machine and he blew it up. He's either dead or in a different Earth or whatever, different universe. But basically, he sacrificed himself. This is kind of similar to a lot of theories that have been going around that Gwen will sacrifice herself to save either Miles or Jefferson Davis, Miles' dad. And a lot of people think she's gonna die in the next one, making a sacrifice type play. So that's kind of where I relate the Prowler and Gwen in these two stories, where if you kind of swap them, it would be the same type of thing, because they the same type of characters in these type of stories. You feel me? I know it's a little confusing, but it would make more sense if you actually read the comic. But if you understand what I'm saying, good, you know what I'm saying? Because it does make sense if you really think about it. The stories is really similar, but obviously we don't know what's gonna happen in part 2. But a lot of people are thinking Gwen is gonna end up, she's gonna end up dying. A lot of people is thinking that, and a lot of people is thinking she's gonna make the sacrifice play. And if this story continues to be as similar as the Ultimatum saga, maybe that happens. Maybe Gwen ends up making the sacrifice play for either Miles or Miles' dad or whatever, his whole family or whatever it is. So, that's basically it. I just wanted to come on here and give a quick little comparison, because I saw nobody else was talking about this. I was kind of surprised because I thought it was a little obvious. But yeah, I'm excited for part 2. I think the whole world is excited for part 2. I think it's gonna be better than part 1, because we have it. Part 1 feels like an ending in the climax. Like it was about to be the best part. It was about to be a crazy fight, crazy scrap. The Miles is the Prowler, like what? Shit gonna be crazy. I'm not gonna lie, part 2 is gonna be crazy. So hyped to see that. I'm hyped to see if my theory that it's gonna continue to follow this type of storyline is true, or if I'm completely wrong and this whole video I made myself look like a dumbass.